Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this satsang with Sri Mooji. This is a very special moment to be here at Swami Dayananda Ashram, and I was asked to introduce Mooji Baba to you. And I think many people do know who he is. He's been coming to India for several years now, and people all across the world are drawn to meet him and be in satsang with him, because of his wisdom, his humor, his clarity, his tremendous love and availability. But I think mostly people are drawn to him because he is one speaking from that true place, from direct experience. And many in a place like Rishikesh have studied for so many years, and it's such an honor to be and privileged to be in the presence of one who is that. So today's a day you're welcome to bring your questions to him. And we want to say that we want to give preference to those who are from Swami Dayananda Ashram to come forward with their questions today. And Mooji Baba will be with us in a moment. Thank you.
Too strong, this one. This one is softer, maybe softer. That's it.
Hari Om. A very good morning to all of you. On behalf of Swami Dayananda Ashram, we welcome Sri Mooji Babaji here once again for one more time. So he is here to give satsangs, and people who are interested in asking questions may raise their hands, and then he selects the person, and then you can come forward to ask a question. After the thing is over, not now, just wait for 2 minutes. We would like to honor him with a shawl. Swamini Atma Prajnananda ji will honor Sri Mooji Babaji on behalf of our ashram. Please give him a good hand. I would also like to take one more moment. Sri Mooji is starting an ashram. He's already got an ashram. He's constructing an ashram in Portugal, for which he has various projects, where he is now doing some plantations of olive trees. Various trees, which one is olive tree. I had a talk with him as well as with these people yesterday. On behalf of Swami Dayananda ji and on behalf of Swami Dayananda Ashram, we here contribute this. We contribute for 2 trees at that ashram. So I request Swami Tattvavidananda ji to hand over the cover to Sri Mooji Baba. I also request all of you to participate in this program and help him construct the ashram. Thank you.
Om. Namaste, welcome everyone today for today's satsang. And I would also like to say, I believe they are broadcasting also. So some people may be joining in to share today's satsang in real time with us here in Rishikesh. Again, I had the beautiful privilege yesterday to encounter many of those who are attending various classes here yesterday, and spontaneously I was invited to come and sit, which I very much appreciated this time with you. And generously again, Swamiji has asked me, would I come again? And I said, if you wanted, I will come. And it seemed you agreed. So I'm here again. Also, I'd like to say thank you. This talk about donating trees came very spontaneously from him. We don't ask about these things. But he suggested, is there some way that we can contribute something? And we talked about that the land that we took on, was very bare. No one had lived there for over 25 years. And so we decided to really start from scratch, and to also some areas needed reforesting. So we started this project of planting trees, and the ones that are the most transportable ones, they were olive trees, because you can actually take a mature tree, olive tree, and replant it. Most trees you cannot do that. They won't survive. And that's why most for reforestation, they start from saplings. So he had himself suggested, I would like to contribute something. So that's how that came about. Thank you for that. In a setting like this, I come to satsang totally as I am. I've not prepared any speech. I never make speech or something like that, or nor have any specific thing that I intend to talk about, as is consistent with life in its spontaneous unfolding. And so I know that whatever comes up in this time, it is going to be what is destined to come, and it's going to be just fine. And I like to meet like this, so that myself I'm surprised also by what comes. I believe that my pointings are very simple, and I feel that many people here also have studied Advaita Vedanta for some time. My pointings are very simple. I found it to be that what we are searching for, if it is the ultimate understanding, and also to be experienced beyond merely intellectual conviction, that one does not need to know so much now. Now all that is required is to somehow come to the recognition of your true position as the ultimate seer in the functioning of perception that is occurring within this form, and to experience that. And I've found that there are many beautiful surprises, unexpected surprises, that we come to see that from inside the experience of seeing itself, the mind that normally is very fragmentary by nature in terms of the search for knowledge, calms down and enters the heart's field, what I call the heart energy field, which is not so much a space of conceptual interplay, but more a dimension of peace and silence, stillness, grace, wisdom, love also. And when you come to this, you intuitively, instinctively know this is right. You see? An outside source is not required to convince you that you're in the right place. You intuitively know. We are built in such a way that we intuitively know. Just like if you have never been sick before and you live on an island and you become sick, you don't need anyone to tell you you are sick. You will know it automatically. There are some things that we just know, and we don't know how we know. We just know. So I don't want to speak so much about that. I'd rather use the time to meet you in the most simple way. So here we go. I'll be happy if this is not one, because I do have dry eyes very easily, and I'd rather see you rather than be squinting all the time. So the invitation is open for you to thank you.
I have two questions.
Is there a microphone that we can use so everybody can? Yeah.
As we see, all the religions teach us God is love, love is God. Then why there's so much hatred, so much of animosity, there's so much of insecurities in the world? Why everybody is ready to be a cutthroat for, everyone? And the second question is, as Lord Krishna said, Yada yada dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata, he will come on earth when there is so much of, so how come he's not coming at the moment?
He will also come through you, through the door of yourself also. You must assist in bringing him forward also. He should not come independent of you. Why not he come through you? And if he comes again, he won't necessarily come in the form that you expect to see. But to your first question, you say, if it is said that God is love and love is God, then how comes in our world that is not so evident? Why is so much cruelty, so much unkindness, so much violence and so on? You see? If we simply knew, just by the very fact that we are, experience birth and come into a life of a body that is growing and a mind that is evolving and becoming more mature and so on, and from the outset it was just inbuilt to just spontaneously know that God is, and that God is love, and that love is God, it would take away from the game of existence. You have to discover that. We have to discover that, and because God is love, but that has to be an experience, and that love is God, that will have to come through experience, not only through belief. Whatever we believe, we must actually validate through experience. And we say that if God is love, why is there so much hatred and selfishness in the world, you see? Because in the play of existence, when consciousness in some way deemed it or choose to express, the human expression of consciousness is endowed with a certain sense of freedom of choice. It's not total freedom of choice, but there has to be a sense in which we experience that we can make choices and we can choose what we want to do and so on. In fact, it's not truly a choice, because no one can choose or act contrary to the will of God. It must be within the permissive will. I don't think that you can do something and surprise God. Like God go, oh my God, I didn't know that you were going to do that. So our actions cannot act independently of the Supreme Consciousness. But within the play, the beings have a sense, what is the choice? I found it fundamentally, it would be either to keep going with the invitations of the mind and habits to go out and to identify with phenomenality, which is the perceiving of the play of names and forms, and to desire them and to keep being pulled into some association with them, which leads us into a very personal mode. And we are weakest when we become personal. Or to stay back as the observer, but that has to come, that someone has to point you to that is a possibility, because all beings are capable of observing, but few really exercise that power. We seem simply to just go on our reflex and upon habit, and simply we love what we love, we hate what we hate, and don't go deeper than that. Only as we begin to observe ourselves, or you're pulled into the journey of awakening, or this love for God or surrender, you begin to experience that statement which you started by saying, that God is love, because you experience that love, you experience that wisdom, you experience that spaciousness, which is so compatible with your inmost nature and being. You see, it doesn't just someone give it to you like this. We come into that, and it's part of the true maturing of a human being, that you come into that understanding, that you discover love as your inmost nature. And with that understanding, you see, when deeply assimilated into your being, so there's no separation between love and yourself. In fact, even of God, and yourself. It feels like a unity, a union or something that happens. And with that deep merging of the consciousness, it then somehow manifests in your life without you even intending to do something. It is like it is your fragrance. We have a saying that you burp what you eat. No? So whatever you eat, when you burp, if you've been eating tomatoes, you won't burp, mayonnaise. You see? So whatever you have taken in, that's the fragrance that will come from you. And I feel this is the way. While we have the sense of autonomy, then it is as though we are left to make our own minds up, but not totally. But we are tasting the fruits of our own projection, our own idea of what life is. We seem to have the ability to construct different concepts about what life should be, to try out our version to see if it works, or to find that cosmic unfolding in which we are totally compatible with that unfolding, or to go our own way as impelled and compelled by our sort of like, you may say, social, religious conditioning and so on, will determine the way in which we experience life. It is a journey of maturing also. Those who have gone into the very heart of it, they emerge, you see, as the embodiment of that statement itself. And that's all it needs. We don't need more books, more studies. What you need is to meet someone who is the embodiment of that truth. Blessed is the one whose life is the evidence of truth. Or you may say that you must become the proof that God exists. Not merely by what we say, but how we are. And it's not too much of a thing to say to a human being, considering that we are all made of God, if you can put like that. Why should we not smell like God, look like God, taste like God? What has happened to create this sense of separation? It is to do with our, I would say, conditioning, the sense of the free will that compels us to act in our own self-interest, and whereby we become more selfish, because the more the consciousness identifies as a person, the person mode is a very limited and selfish mode of consciousness. It is one of the lowest expressions of consciousness, because as a person is inclined, it's based upon the belief I am the body, and the belief I am the body brings to consciousness the vulnerability of the body, because we know that the body has a birth date, a life date, and a death date. When consciousness identifies with the body, it's as though it comes into time, whereby its true nature is timelessness. And so it begins to experience fear that one day all this will end. And so many things come out of that, restlessness and anger and frustration at the conscious and subconscious level, you see. So it is a good thing that human beings evolve beyond the person into the state of presence, conscious presence, whereby these things that we are speaking about is easily understood and assimilated in the consciousness. So the consciousness is joy, in fact, in rediscovering, not creating, in fact, but recognizing, discovering, and being one with that which you discover. Next question we can have? Okay. Someone here.
In spite of all this consciousness.
Wait a moment, please.
I think they want the mic to come a little bit closer. Does it feel comfortable?
Yes, okay.
Yeah, Swamiji, in spite of this consciousness, there is violence, anarchy.
Sorry, could you start from the beginning? I missed a few words there.
Yeah, in spite of this consciousness growing in the world, there is violence in this world, anarchy, terrorism, jihadists. People are divided on
issues of religion and everything, what is the fate of human race then?
Someone once asked my master, when will mankind come out of turmoil? And he answered, when mankind becomes kind man. What I mean by that is that somehow we expect, why should it not be like this? We are terrified by the negative expressions that come out of a disturbed mind. How can we fix this? You see? So we almost want someone else to fix it for you. But tremendous change comes when there's a saying, you must become the change you wish to see in the world. It starts with each one, because there's no peace that can happen and be sustained just externally or be written on paper as some kind of treaty. It's not enduring. It has to start from within. So each one, maybe these things are just really compelling, reminding us how important it is to start again afresh with yourself. You find peace. When you find peace, actually your peace will touch the world a lot more than any propaganda will do. Because we have examples of human beings who attained that peace, who recognized and discovered that inherent peace, and because of that, so many millions and millions of people actually, lives were changed and grew in consciousness. And if you look at someone, for instance, like a Buddha, 2,600 years or so, they dropped their body. Today, there's still new Buddhists coming. Who are they? Who are they inspired by? The light, actually, outlived the length of the body and continue to inspire human beings all over the world. This is an amazing thing. You don't find anybody, worshipping Napoleon Bonaparte or Genghis Khan or something. You see, because the ones we mention are beings whose lives radiated that tremendous peace and harmony and all-encompassing, embracing love that so much is the inner substance of the soul. And that's what we are searching for. We say, okay, enough violence. We know this now. We want to have some love, but it has to start with you. We learn from example. Set the example. I won't even say, somehow you become an example for everyone. No, just find it because you trust that and you are searching for that peace. And it's amazing that one human being whose life is the evidence of that shows that it really is possible, because now increasingly maybe people don't believe it is possible. It is some kind of spiritual fantasy or something that a human being can be genuinely happy and free from the molestations of a psychological mind. And then I said, but this is terrible that we don't feel it is possible. Out of 7 billion human beings alive on the planet now, we have to look back in history to find someone who is awake when we are all of the same. This is why I feel it is pressing, you see, because if God is infinite, God must be here now. If it takes another 100 years to find Him, on the day that He is found, it will not be a day unlike today, this very moment. I would put it like this, that if you speak about we speak about someone, if they're not here, we can talk about them. But if they are here, you must speak to them. Why we speak about God? Something in us always feels separate, how we can get to Him, which is implying that there's always some distance. Why is God not here? If you really opened up your mind and heart to that possibility, you may or you will encounter Him. Why should we be so fickle or so afraid? If you met God, especially meet God inside your own self even, I wonder how the world would look to you during and after such an encounter. How does God see the world? So let's not focus so much on external questions too much. What about internally? Internally, you can discover something, because you will most meet that truth, discover that truth internally. You will do it, and today is as good as any other day. Why should God be infinite, omnipresent, apart from you? Okay.
Babaji, if I am not the body, and if I am the consciousness, and if that is the truth, then, like you said, I must intuitively feel that, the way I would feel sickness. But why is it that I don't feel it, and I find that the majority of humanity doesn't feel that he or she is
Actually, you are feeling it all the time. You're just not aware that you are feeling it. You are feeling it all the time. We are like fishes drowning, dying of thirst in the ocean, searching for water. It is as obvious and obviously missed like that. You say, if we are consciousness, how we don't feel it? But anything else you feel, you cannot feel without consciousness. It's because of consciousness that you can perceive them. It is closer than intimacy. You see? If I give an example, I give an example like this. You have a knife. Imagine a knife that's so sharp, it can cut so many things, but it cannot cut itself. Okay? Or a scale can weigh so many objects, but it cannot weigh itself. Why? Because it is one unit. And in order to perceive or to cut something, must be cut something other than what it is. You see? Or your eyes can look on so many forms, but they cannot see themselves. You can try, you can't do it. Because they are one. Similarly, you are one. You cannot see yourself. You can only see your projections of who you think you are. But your essential being, it is so one, you cannot see it. Whatever you see is only imaginary. You are looking from it, but you cannot look at it. If you could look at yourself, who would you be to look at? Are there two selves to look at? I'm putting it to you something that has been overlooked and can be rediscovered just like this, in fact. We imagine consciousness maybe has a certain feeling, but it is beyond feeling, in fact. You may say the fragrance of that consciousness is peace, joy and love. You may say like that, but I wouldn't want to limit it even to that. Every experience, every point of recognition can only take place because consciousness is prior to the things it perceives. You are the perceiving consciousness. Yesterday, I was trying to guide someone and saying, look, just leave everything, all your notions for a moment. We can do it in a short space of time. We can do. Leave all your notions about, this and how the world should be and what's happening in the world. Put just everything down just for a few minutes. We can spare that few minutes. And don't hold on to any memory or anything from past or any expectation or aspirations about future. We can do this. So that you simply empty your mind and consciousness from all this luggage. And even the idea you have of who you are. just let it be for a minute, let go of everything. So you are entirely empty. Be informationless. There is something you cannot take out. Whatever can be taken out, leave them aside for a moment. You'll come to a point, there's nothing else you can take out. Tell me if you're not here. Everything you can take out, because you are there to perceive them. They are secondary to you. Even knowledge is nothing without you. You are the knower of knowledge and of ignorance. So you need not combine yourself with any of these for one moment, just to experience yourself neat without any association. And be with this for a second. And don't be asking, okay, now what or what next. Don't go there. Simply rest as you are. Okay? If I say, but don't wait, already I caught you. You see? Something like, okay, so now what's the next thing? Watch that. Don't purchase that. Mind gets very agitated in these kind of states because it is used to, while you're having breakfast, he's asking, what's for lunch? And when you're eating lunch, what's for dinner tonight? It's always on to the next. And like this, we perpetuate a state of restlessness that you need not get pulled into. So this is the invitation, simply to leave everything for a moment and to simply be sufficiently relaxed in this nowness. And tell me, don't hold your breath also. You can relax. You're not suppressing the senses or controlling them. Let everything be naturally here. And experience what is here before you pick anything else up. That is the natural mind, natural state. But quickly something wants to assert, but I can't live like this, and I've got things to do, and quickly we pick the noise up. And rarely in a life, maybe 30, 40, 50 years, we have never allowed ourselves consciously to experience the stillness of being. It's like it has no value in our corporate life. But cooperate with life. Be present for a moment. Life can spare you. Be with this. And somehow, mind is saying, but what is the value? We're not making money, we're not doing anything, it's a very passive state, we're wasting time and all of this stuff. You must discern the difference between yourself and your mind. Because the mind is not going to feel, the psychological mind is not going to feel compassion for you. It's not going to say, I've tortured you for 40 years, you deserve a break. I'm going to go somewhere else. No, he does his job very well. You need not be a victim of that. Simply look and experience yourself before you go shopping for other sensations that just create a kind of psychic cholesterol or constipation or something inside your being. And experience the natural silence of being. Then you may say, but what if I have important things to do? Well, actually, when you are silent, you will see whether they are important or not. Because many things that the mind tells you is important, actually, is not important. You just never questioned it. In your stillness, in your silence, you will perceive much more clearly and honestly. And you'll see, actually, that your life is unfolding with a certain grace and ease. That living by the projections of the psychological mind has not given you that peace. Sometimes we have the sense that if you are too peaceful, you won't get things done. And that is also a myth. It is not true. God is all peace. and yet it keeps this world going, every part of it. If you could go to start digging a hole here and go to the center of this planet, you may find some little creature moving about down there. He puts it there, feeds it, and provides a way for it to enjoy its existence. You are not making life happen. You must realize that you are life itself. And at the same time, that the unfolding play of life is perceived in and by yourself. There's a saying, I want to taste the honey, I don't want to be the honey. This says a lot about us. We seem to be addicted to experiencing. But here in the discovery of the self, it's a win-win. You are tasting the honey and you are the honey also. Next question, this. Yeah, this one. Yeah.
Om Namo Bhagavate Ramanaya. Pranam Mooji. So Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi told that self-inquiry leads you to liberation.
Yes.
But many people told that we are not in a position to do it. He was compassionate and he told, you surrender to Ishvara. Look Ishvara everywhere. That kills your ego. It is as good. But the moment you start surrendering, the ego comes with a vengeance. Don't think that it is easy. Then people again, because people are of different grades, right? Can we do japa, like clinging to one thought to the exclusion of other thoughts? He tells, okay, that strengthens your mind and it will be made fit for a reflection of the higher truth. Then also he suggested in Upadesasara, you just observe your breath. The mind which is running at 1000 kilometers supersonic speed, it comes down. It is not going to serve the purpose. And also action, you do the duties without any selfish motive, so that the barren mind, it becomes a bit fertile to reflect upon the higher truth. These are the things I could make out. Do you have any other technique or any spiritual aid which serves as a supporting journey to the super expressway of self-inquiry?
Yes. Sri Bhagavan mentioned these things in order to satisfy the temperament of the different kind of seekers that came to him. Some people were more of a tendency that they said they want to surrender, and surrender, that's their way, because they found self-inquiry too intellectual or too difficult for them. They felt like this. So he reminded them, surrender, it is good to surrender, but ultimately you must surrender also the surrenderer. You see? I was going to say, ooh, I didn't include myself in that. You see? I give everything to God. I give this one, give that one, give that one. But what about you? Oh, no. I've got to exist to keep giving God, you see? But what about you? He doesn't want those things. They belong to him anyway. You're giving to him, the things belong to him. What about you? Also, you belong to him. You see? So this is what he talked about, surrender. And he spoke about different things because people came predominantly with that sway. They were strongly, okay, I'm into karma yoga, and what's the best way? You see? He says, yes, you do acts of kindness, like that. You do that, but not with any sense that you are the doer of it. Don't be attached to the fruits of your actions, because then you become personal about it. And then you're doing it for you and not for me. Like this. So to each, according to their capacity and their temperament, he addressed them as much as they could take. Mantra japa, same thing. He said also, you can practice your japa, practice mantra japa. It will help to purify the mind. It is an excellent way, especially for people who, whenever they try to meditate, immediately their minds are full with noise, big crowd come. So he said, do simple mantra japa. It's a simple way, and it will energetically purify the mind, so that it becomes more receptive to the higher truths, the more subtle things. So all these advice are good. Also about eating. Eat more sattvic food, because it will be more inducive and also complementary to a meditative life. All these he gave, and that was his versatility and his universality in that. But he said, to those who can follow me, this will be the most direct. There are some activities that you will do which will be successful while you're doing them. But when you stop, the whole tendency will come back. the old regime of thinking will reassert itself. Of all of them, he spoke, self-inquiry is the most direct because it is not working for an effect. It is exposing that all effects are temporary and they are perceived to be temporary, and to find out what it is that can perceive the temporariness of things or perhaps even the permanence of things. To try and recognize that because it is already there, that the fact goes before even the discovery. The fact is that something is perceiving them. Find out that which is perceiving them. And this is what many of you have been studying it, and I want you to experience this thing here. Because the power is right here to show you that right here today you can come and recognize from your absolute nature. It may take a while for your habits to settle down, to stabilize in that understanding. But at least the switch will have happened. If we turn off one of these fans, we don't have to go up there and try and stop the blade. I go to the thing and flick the switch. Once I flick the switch, the blade continues turning for a while. But gradually it's slowing down and will eventually stop. We don't have to wait to see when it stops. It stops in a way because you put the juice out. In the same way, you can cut the juice to the mind. How do you cut the juice to the mind? Mind lives on attention, identity. This is what's, interest. This is the food for the psychological mind. As long as you keep looking at it and getting involved in it, it perpetuates its existence. In self-inquiry, you are asked to turn your attention, towards the source of the attention, which is your own self. And in a real guidance, which I hope at some point to engage with you, to show you actually, that it comes back to the source and you are there at the source. This is the excellence of the inquiry. Because what you have discovered then, you have discovered that which is here by itself. It doesn't need a practicer to practice it actually. It is here, it is self-evident, but it has not been recognized consciously. That is all that is happening. He is not asking you to do something new. He is not asking you for any spiritual gymnastics. He is only pointing, look, this thing that you are speaking from, this is also observable, isn't it? And you're, oh yes, it can be seen. Then be in that prior place where the seeing is there. And confirm, are you in a strange place? You see, you find, no, actually, it feels very good here. I'm not personal here. When I'm not personal here, my functioning of perception is more cool and calm and sober. Yes. What knows this? Oh, what knows this? It is known. But where is it known? You see, already it is amazing. It is the most amazing invitation. And if you want to call it a method, the most effective, direct, immediate, and lasting, actually, of any method you can say. It is like looking in a mirror and seeing a perfect reflection of your face. It is that powerful. And this is why I've really concentrated most effort to try and convey through practice, and also we have to repeat because we quickly forget. But after a while, you see, you simply pick up that habit, and then quickly you find that it's no effort to stay as the self. Even the idea of staying as the self is a bogus idea. It was only useful for the bogus seeker. But eventually it's found that the seeker itself is just an idea, was one my favorite idea. And it collapses in real seeing, you see. Your question at the end was, at the end of all of this that Sri Ramana Maharshi, he was asking, he didn't start out to say, listen, I have all these methods to teach you. And he may have spoken these things on separate occasions. They were compiled later to say he said this and this and this and this and that. But he spoke to each one of those points you made, may have been to a different seeker, separate seekers, you see. Anybody know? Anybody else? Yes, yes. Could you put the microphone a bit more? Yeah.
Hari Om.
Yes.
My question is regarding this rebirth. All our scriptures, especially Hinduism, we believe in the concept of rebirth. Does it mean that when a person converts himself to another religion, he will not be born again? Or a person from another religion who converts himself to Hinduism will be born? What is the actual truth about rebirth? Is there a concept of rebirth? In Gita, it clearly mentions that again and again we have been born thousands of times, and we can't be selectively, particular about.
Okay. It is a beautiful question. I wonder if you can cope with my answer about it. What I love about the question is it's got some space in it, and I'll tell you why I say this. You see, if something is really truthful, it must be truthful right across the board. So, I mean, in recent times, there have been research that's happened. There have been people. I remember one that started a research by a doctor, and that started because her patients, she had observed them just towards the latter stages of their life when they're about to leave their bodies. And she was, having watched them over a period of time, she was very struck by what she observed. And she started to do a separate research about it and to interview many people and this type of thing, you see. And so she asked other doctors, actually she approached the main body that didn't want to put any interest or any money or to support that research. But some people came along, and gradually a movement came from all over the world. The people were reporting experiences that they've had from different religions, right across. All people have no religion also. And it was amazing that how consistent the experiences were. You see? So that was one thing, that irrespective of whether you're Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Parsi, whatever it is, many people were experiencing the same thing, near-death experiences. You see? This sense of going through some kind of tunnel of light and coming out into another space and seeing relatives and all of these things. Many people reported that. Some other different things were reported, but consistently it seemed to be across the board these things were happening. That's one thing. The second thing is that actually your belief makes your life. Life is belief. And so actually the consciousness is so flexible, so adaptable, that it will take the form of your belief also. So within your belief framework, whatever you believe, the consciousness will adapt itself to that, and you will experience within that according to what your projection is also. Included in this also is the fact that for whom is reincarnation? For whom is rebirth? Is it for the body? Is it for the mind? Or is it for the person, what we call a person? Is it for the inmost self? What is it that experiences rebirth? It's not the body. The body breaks down and becomes, you may say, recycled or something. Okay? So that's not the rebirth. The Absolute cannot experience rebirth. It is also called the unborn itself. So what is it that experiences rebirth? You may say mind. But can mind exist by itself? Mind is a relationship. It is the consciousness, actually, which is timeless, which somehow dreams itself into time by identifying with the body, which is the instrument that it needs in order to taste experiencing, believing itself to be this person, a personal self. And all that this personal self believes and gets conditioned to believe, that becomes the sense of the person. And it's that person with their belief, their inconsistencies, their sense of rights and wrongs and karmas, all the collection of their belief that undergoes transformation, that is getting more and more evolved towards complete liberation. And it is said that many, many bodies are needed in that paradigm of you may say, evolution, the evolutionary consciousness. I see this as also a dream. By that I don't mean to dismiss it. It's a divine dream. We are all dreaming. You can say God is dreaming it. You see? And at the same time, so your question is saying on one hand, suppose I'm a Hindu, I believe in reincarnation in this sort of form. I became a Muslim who believe a different kind of thing. What is my experience going to be? You see? Well, it will still depend upon also some factors. I gave you two shapes. One is the universal research, which is that right across the board, beyond your belief category and systems, there exists a common fact that many people experience to be the same way, that they undergo some sense that they travel through some sort of dimension, and they were still present, they were still experiencing, that they experienced loved ones and so on, and come into a very beautiful sort of world that is a bit similar, but hundreds and thousands of times much more delightful than this earth. They say that this. And others that, of course, each according to your belief also impacts upon the kind of experiences you will have after the body falls. These things, for me, they are not so important. What is important, you are here now. What can you find out about you now? Because if you transcend while your body is warm, you have to find that which is imperishable. That is the opportunity. And that is the possibility, because you have the advantage in that you are already the self. For a while it undergoes a sort of temporary state of hypnosis whereby it believes itself to be time and name and form, and therefore limited. And it must find within itself the power to transcend that limitation and to awaken to its eternal nature while it is in the body also. Someone, another one? Okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Now you can speak, I think.
Yes, sir.
Yes, good.
At the intellect level, it is consciousness which manifests as matter, or it is the consciousness which manifests as the Jagat. But at the same time, we are also saying, I am not the body, I am not the mind, etc. Are we not creating a duality here, a sort of dichotomy or a duality here when we say that I am not the body, I am not the mind, etc.? And on one hand, we are saying that how to experience it. Of course, theoretically, we are accepting it. But then how to experience that? It is the same consciousness which has manifested as the Jagat, in which I...
Yes, okay, I take your question. Yes. He's saying that if it is to be accepted that all that we perceive as name and form, all that is comprised of the combination of the five elements and what they produce in so many different forms, if it is said and we are to accept that consciousness is all of this, consciousness has made all these things, then what is the purpose? Isn't it a contradiction to then say in your own spiritual, your sadhana, to be saying that I am not the body, I am not, when you have already said that the body is comprised of consciousness? Well, yes, here it goes, because if you say that the body, I am not the body, right? It is a particular exercise to find that which is the weakness of all that is appearing inside of you. That is your sadhana when you're doing it. It cannot just be theoretically postulated like that. You are in a process of inquiry to see that whatever you see on this side of the eyes, anything on this side of the eyes, what is comprised by the five elements and their play, okay, that they cannot exist independent of the perceiver of them. I wonder if we can accept that. They are not telling you that they are. Something inside is perceiving them according to the latent impressions within your own self. So for the inquiry sake, as you are looking and you're seeing, but I am not that thing which is perceived, anything, actually the most beautiful part of the inquiry, at the mature stage, one sees that whatever it is in any combination that the five elements combine to create, it can still only be an effect, an appearance in the consciousness that perceives it. Then the stage on from that, if all that I perceive on this side of the eyes can only be matter, which is not perceiving itself, it depends upon a sentient perceiver to perceive it, and I am that perceiver. And behind the eyes, you can say, in the world of sensation and feeling and memory and thought, which also are seemingly observable by also this power to observe, if all of these outside and inside are observable, what is observing them? That's how your inquiry should go. What is observing them? Can that which is observing them, can that be also observed? That is a fundamental question, because that's not merely an objective question. It is a subjective question. And this question, if you follow it or even enjoy it even, because of the potential of what you're about to discover, you see, then this could be your final question to take you completely out of ignorance, because it will not be satisfied by merely a conceptual answer. This is the one question that can only be satisfied by an experience, by revelation, you see, by insight, not merely concept. I wonder if you realize how profound. If this is the master question, the master key, in fact. If the world that I perceive is only the world according to me, as is filtered through my own conditioning, all that I see, as reported to a central consciousness, which is right where I am, I cannot point that it is somewhere else. How do I know it is somewhere? Because I'm here to perceive that also. If I am the witness of all of these things, all of them are witnessed by some ultimate seeing place. Can that seeing place be also witnessed? Try it and see what happened. Can the seer be seen? But I wonder if you're really ready for such a question. You should be. You should be. If you have been studying this, this is the culmination of all your research. Should bring you to a question, an atomic question, that will be the answer to your complete quest. An answer that nobody can receive. You can only be. That will be the ultimate discovery for you. It cannot merely be, and you have not been satisfied merely by objective or mental answers. It has to be, actually, you have to be the final answer. Because if the scientists say yes, yes, because everything that you see, is a construct of consciousness. Consciousness manifest. And we can say, yes, it is true, because even if you have a dream and you experience inside the dream, you're in the rain and you get totally wet, and then you go into the sun after and you get totally dry. And when you, in the dream, the water is wet and cold, and in the dream the sun is warm and dry and yellow. Okay? But when you wake up, you see you've been sleeping in some tiny little cupboard or something like that. Where sun come from? Where rain come from? It was from consciousness it come. And you can apply that to the waking state also. Because every day we wake up maybe from dream, but to be totally awake, you must also wake up from the waking state. Meaning that in the waking state also we are dreaming. How are we dreaming? Because it is a very private world. You see? It is really something that we are interpreting all the time. And your interpretation does not match up with someone else's interpretation. So it is a very personal thing. So if it is only personal, it is not reliable, and that's what I mean, it is dreaming. And even within the dreamer, the context of a single dreamer, from day to day, they change their outlook. They cannot be consistent. So therefore, that world and anything, it is not reliable, not dependable. Where are we going with all of this? None of that is consistent. It is not permanent. What knows that must be at least more permanent than the thing it sees to be not permanent. This is the power and the direction of inquiry. It will stir you up, but it will lead you to a more pure place of consciousness. Next. Okay. Who? Okay, you start. You go ahead. Wait, there's a microphone. Could you come a bit more to the middle of the room and then maybe it works better? Yes.
It's okay?
Yes, this is good.
I have a question about soul family and past lives.
Sorry, yeah. Yes.
Okay. To past lives and meaning soul family, the connection that we have in this life with people.
Can I say something? Can I say something to all of you? You're not going to get anywhere like this. Your questions are weak. They're about past life and after death. What about your life now?
This is my question.
Yes, because what happens is that these kind of things, they're amusement for your mind. I will tell you things, you'll soon forget about it. Because it is not real for you. What is real for you is that you are here right now, you're a living sentient being. Find out what it is that is sentient in this body. And you will have all those answers you're asking. They will come as waves of illumination because you have turned the key. You must enter the sacred room of your own heart. The questions such as, what happens when you drop the body and blah, 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 blah. People, you can read any kind of book, and many of them, they are fighting with each other. You have to come out. Sometimes I say, you have to become the cow that jumped over the moon. What it means by that? If you stay only within the context of what you have been taught, your conditioned mentality is not good enough. You are much more than this. Yesterday we sat together, I looked into your eyes, many of you. It was a moment as tangible as we are now. It was vivid, alive, as any other thing you experience. You did many things yesterday, 24-hour day or whatever 18-hour day you have experienced. Where is it today? Can you turn behind you, dip your hand into any aspect of yesterday and bring me a sample of yesterday, today? It is gone. As is everything else is swimming by. Memory, a function we have inside, does its best to replicate an experience. It fails. There is something in this. There is something in this. There is something that does not pass. Everything else passes. Because everything that you see, everything you perceive and conceive, time says, all this belongs to me. I will eat them. And you will not be able to retrieve them. You must find something that time cannot touch. And that something is right here also. Why not find it today? There's something, time says, I can eat anything you see, anything you wish for, anything you remember, clump, 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 I'll eat it. The only thing I cannot eat is awareness, that which perceives me. Why are we not looking? Because best you get to many answers and stuff, what are you going to do with them? They should at least help you to transform ignorance into real knowledge and understanding. So that when you leave here, when you stand up, your heart is shining with the light of life. You are the light of life. You're not some walking encyclopedia. You are life itself. I am not here with you for very long. A few minutes. What we can do with a few minutes. I hold it very high, a few minutes. In an instant, you can wake up. Let's not waste it talking about stuff, discussing why fall in love with a cloud. You want to get married with a cloud? How long is going to last your relationship? Everything that we think about like this, they're just clouds passing. If knowledge is anything, it must show you who you are. Why is the point of learning about everything else and about yourself you don't know? That is what spirituality is. That is what self-discovery is. Self, not somebody else's discovery, your self-discovery. That is the opportunity that is alive. It makes you alive, not just biologically alive, alive as life itself, as the God self itself. If you are not this, why Krishna bother talk to you? Why the Christ and the holy prophets and so on? Why they bother talk to you if you stood no chance? If you're just some sort of meat suit, what's the point of telling you? There's no chance for you. Listen, you're just. They're speaking to you from, as, and to the eternal existence. To awaken self-recognition for that existence that temporarily come under a state of hypnosis whereby it believes it is merely personal, suffers as a person, perhaps die as a person. When inside you, the Supreme Being is alive, imperishable. Use your life to find that. It doesn't necessarily have to take all your life to find it. Find it as soon as you can and enjoy your days in that. If you should say, I am timeless existence, it can't be just words. How do I see you? As the self. You are the self. The self is conversing with the self about the self. Less than that, we might as well be talking about cricket. Consciousness is conversing with consciousness about consciousness. And in that type of environment, you feel everything becoming lighter and lighter. You see? When you focus on a question like the one I put, can the seer, who is the seer, the perceiver of all things, can this seer be seen? Try and see. Just try, take your time and try and understand the question. No, don't just ask it mechanically. Try and understand the implication, the profundity of the question. And I will tell you something. You try it for 10 minutes and then turn away from the question and look for any problem you can have and see what happens. Totally evaporated, has no power. Even if you have not come to a conclusion, just the fact that your attention is turned towards the source is burning forests of ignorance. You see? You might start in the beginning and say, oh, my children is this, and my son is doing this, and then I lost my business, and so on, so on, so on. So. You who are talking all this thing, this perceiver, can you identify him? Try now. And then turn back and tell me your problems when you first came here, and see if you can speak them. They are not real. they're only for a problem thinker. Those exist for the idea you have of who you are and not for your true self. Be in the height of your consciousness. Be in the height of your consciousness. You see, because if you remain only in the earth mind and earth body, you're going to be prone to a lot of worries. Always something to worry about, always something troubling you. But you look in the way that you are being guided and see what happened. You're risen up. You're not going to fall down. You start falling upwards into the embrace of the Supreme. But something in us is very lazy. Been lazy for long. And we're very loyal to our laziness. This kind of laziness. Because it's too much trouble. You see? And this is why people have only really changed through inspiration. Not just change, but they see something, they recognize a light, and they see, that must be in me. I want to feel this, I want this. And that inspiration generates so much power that they become the thing that they desire. Or they unbecome the thing they are not. Same thing. A hand was there. Could you put over there for me?
I wanted to ask you, the last few weeks, I've been taking time, about half an hour every morning, just to watch.
Yes.
And the instruction I was given was to watch the mind.
Yes.
And when I manage to do it, if I'm not daydreaming or I get lost in the mind, I find the experience I have is just, I can only describe it as nothingness.
Yes.
When you put attention to the mind, it's just blank. There's no experience. I come out of it and all I can sort of describe is there was nothing.
Yeah.
But I never sort of really get the sense of anything else when the attention is there. I don't know if there's, is that the process or?
Yeah. Okay. This two points I'll make. One, and I think it's also relevant for many of you, is that you say, when I observe the mind for half an hour, just observing mind. In fact, you don't have to observe mind for half an hour. I'm going to show you something easier than that. Observing mind is for a purpose. There's a reason and a purpose for observing. If we were just observing mind and observing or watching the mind, at some point you may get pulled in. You might get pulled into the stream of mind and start to think about something and so on, because it takes a lot of energy to try and observe your mind. You see? So the purpose of observing is to come to the conclusion that what you are seeing, all of it is momentary. All of it is either random, something comes randomly and you're noticing this, but you don't form any relationship with what you're observing. You stay as the detached observer of all these things. That's what happened. So you're watching without involvement. Yeah? After a while it becomes clear, like everything you're seeing is impermanent and insubstantial, in fact. If you don't identify with it, it's just like a cloud passing. It goes by itself. You don't have to push it nor pull it. It goes by itself. As soon as that is clear, that such is the nature of the mind, of coming and going like this, you can ask, what is observing the mind? What is observing the mind? Because the fact is, it is being observed. By what is it being observed? Can that be observed? And that's already very powerful. So one of two things is going to happen. You're going to stop. you are going to stop, or you are going to stay with it and observe something. You are going to either run away because it's so powerful, or you're going to be so pulled into the profundity of that recognition, you see. Now, I was very happy you said, actually, after observing for half an hour, my mind actually, there was just nothing. It was nothing, okay? Or you say it was a blank or a void, okay? What weakness is even void also? Because even void is also observed. And that also will go. Suppose the void is what is seen, and void is there, and you can't avoid the void. Okay? It's just void. Okay? So you're in a state of this. So there's no thoughts actually coming. There's nothing going on. There's perhaps not even any joy or sorrow or nothing. There's just a blank, no? Still, don't make any premature conclusions about that state. Simply be aware of it. Stay in it. Because at some point it will change. It will change, and that will also be observed. And you will know that what observe it is not trapped in the bubble of anything you can see. And that in seeing is the most powerful thing. Because it means then from there, when you re-enter the field of diverse functioning, it will always have this most stable understanding underneath it. And you will not again suffer from any depression or anxiety, nothing, because you see all of them as momentary sensations appearing and disappearing in consciousness. You have found the full stop. But it is greater than a full stop, because it wasn't a start to start with. But something stopped. You have come to the very source. This is what. What happened is that you experience a state of emptiness, and the mind still comes and says, you found nothing. You see, oh no, am I supposed to experience this? Maybe I made a wrong turn somewhere. You see? And then this is like what happened. But you are not to form any conclusion. Just keep observing. Just the observing is still, the light of observing is still on. So even a blank, don't say, oh, I've just come to a blank. Don't make any assessment. Blank is also a phenomenon being perceived. It is not conclusion. You see? Once you see this, you will not feel that you are trapped in the bubble of this nothingness, because this emptiness at first, the mind is trying to capture it, to say, look, nothingness. Nothing has a very strong connotation for us. Nobody wants to be nothing. Everybody wants to be the best something. But no one wants to be nothing, because nothing has such a negative connotation, you see. Some people, if somebody insults you, hey, you are nothing. People, only a sage, if you say, you are nothing, is, oh, thank you very much. But the regular person is not going to accept nothing as any positive thing. So at first, mine was there, nothing. So don't fall for that. You're not here to count or to compare. Just be just here. Just observe. That too will also pass. You see? Because the self is not a phenomenon that you can perceive. It is the perceiving itself. In fact, it is perceiving the perceiving itself. But this flower nobody can find. So you're right there, you're right there. But don't make any conclusion, or the mind will go, okay, so don't repeat that again. You've been there, done that, you don't want to go back to that state. You see, don't touch that, don't be affected by that. And you will convert that actually, it will get converted into the most beautiful thing. You, sir, okay. Okay, you and then the next one after. Come, no, as you like them.
Actually, my question is connected to the gentleman's question.
Yes.
See, when we talk about watching the mind, okay, and the flow of thoughts, it's a conscious effort, okay. Now, the moment you say it's a conscious effort, the mind's, the play of mind begins. So, for example, when I'm doing the exercise of watching the mind, I'm not very sure whether it is the mind which is posing as the observer and watching, whatever the flow of thoughts that's happening.
Yes.
Or it is actually, the ultimate observer. So the real question about, whether the observer is observed or not, I'm not very sure whether it is the mind posing as the observer.
Yeah. Don't make conclusions too quickly. You've started like that. No, don't give the microphone, please. You've started like that to look, and you say, okay, my question is connected because if I start to, to say, to follow this pointing, to begin to observe the mind, that already is effort. You see? Yes, some effort is beginning with. In fact, when you first started to identify with your body, it was tremendous effort for you as a child to do it. When you were a baby and you did not have the use of this body properly, it was a new machine and you were trying to touch something and you did not feel I am the body at all. When you got used to driving the machine, and you were told enough you are the body, then you accepted this body, and after you never doubted it. Also, the name you did not readily accept. You got adjusted to it. You got adjusted to many things, and we grew and accepted many things out of repetition. And this is why all the Gitas, the great scriptures, they have a tendency to be repetitive, to kind of bring you back through this lullaby into awakening, because we got a lullaby into sleep actually, by many things that we believed, made you asleep to the self. This is why the nature of many Gitas seems repetitive, to keep on just hammering to go back into the consciousness. So in the beginning, some effort will be required, but very quickly it will be transformed into a very natural state for you. You see? Now, you say the second point was that, how do I know that my observing of the mind, is not just the mind observing the mind? But if it is the mind observing the mind, what knows that? Then a deeper observing must be there to say, perhaps it is the mind as observing the mind. But then somebody may say, but maybe it is the mind observing the mind, observing the mind, observing the mind, in endless succession of observing, like putting two mirrors in front of each other and going on. I said, that's typical of the mind to speak like that. However many times, ad infinitum, it is still perceived by one central seeing. You will actually not have to think that. You will come naturally to see and confirm that it is so actually. You see? But in the beginning, we find that the mind is very quick to make assessment and judgments. You see? It's a bad tendency we have. I remember one time also, as I'm talking, one friend came also to India. First time. And after 3 hours of looking around, he felt that he knew everything about India. So I got it right. It's like this, the Indians on this. They said this is such a bad tendency of mind, and people feel that they know this. And so don't make any conclusion. In fact, as long as you can stay in a state of neutrality and simply observe, so that your observing become increasingly silent, and then you keep the power rather than hemorrhaging power through this chatter and all this kind of weak functioning. So something just gets contained in a beautiful concentration of power, and in that, the juice of God, I say, this fruit that awakens in you is the fruit that keep getting sweeter and sweeter and sweeter. But it never gets over sweet. Can you imagine? Every day the fruit you're eating, it tastes even sweeter, but it never gets over sweet. This is the fruit of your own being. Yeah.
So it essentially does take effort, practice and time to
Initially, only to revert some bad habits, some tendencies, but not necessarily to create. It's simply to keep off the tendency to keep going back to the old habits, just for a little bit. But grace is so much in support of that it's not in your own effort and energy you're doing it. You're highly supported by grace. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
My question is, Yeah, my question is in further to what Pratik said about observing the thoughts. Is it audible?
No.
Is it audible now?
Yes, try this one. No.
My question is further to what Pratik had asked about observing the thoughts. I have tried that in the past as a part of a meditation technique. But then after observing the thoughts, I did find that I sometimes get involved with the thought and that takes me away.
Yes.
So I found that was a very difficult thing to do in observing thoughts. But as you said, it gives us an understanding of the thing which is not so stable.
Yes, you are learning to confirm
yes.
that in order to observe thoughts,
yes.
something must be there that give the ability to observe them.
Yes.
So that is something. The thoughts are moving,
yes,
but they are watched from some unmoving place.
Yes. Now, my question is not related to the thoughts as such.
Yeah.
But so I stopped this technique of just observing my thoughts, and I started being more aware of what is happening around me. That is not closing my eyes and observing thoughts, but just observing everything that is happening around me. Now, when I came to Rishikesh, the first 3 days when I was here, I was in absolute wonderment. Looking at the things around me, the mountains, the Ganga, the people, the cows, the dogs, and everything, And I was in absolute wonderment, and I observed everything totally. And I was in total, I would say in total joy. And I did not want to leave this place. Then as I continued over the number of days later, after 10, 12 days later, I suddenly went back into the same rut as I was before. I was not observing things as wonderfully as I was observing them before.
Yes.
And I felt that my mind was getting filled up with a lot of thoughts, which was not the case before. Before I had a lot of joy because there was very little thoughts in my mind, but now the thoughts had come back and I was thinking about those thoughts and I was wondering what the hell am I doing here. So then now I feel that even though I get into a routine, that is, I have to do some things. When I go back to Bombay, I'll have to do some certain routines. Is it that when I'm doing the routines, I should continue to observe whatever is happening around me so that with a feeling of wonderment at all times, which will ensure that there will not be any thoughts within
It's
my
not
mind?
possible. It's not possible to do it. Many people try, many people give this advice, but it's not possible. It's a kind of hardship. What happens is that as soon as you come to recognize that you are not your person, that your person is also observable, and what has the capacity to observe your sense of your person is not personal. These are not deductions you're creating through thinking. You're simply observing that the sense of yourself and your thoughts and ideas and all of these, they are also passing in front or within a space that perceives them but is not trapped in the bubble of that conditioning. You become more sensitive and sensitized to that, to being aware of that space, that the space doesn't move. The scenes change, but the seer is unchanging. Once you're getting there, you see. And when you notice this, it is not an effort, because the seer is not an effort. It is there. It is only being recognized. As soon as you recognize that, somehow that recognition process leads into a very natural stream of awareness itself. A vibration begins to develop within you. A joy comes, like you can't turn it off. If you imagine, for instance, that you had the flu, for 2 weeks you had flu, then everything that you do in your life is occurring in that flu state, isn't it? Whatever you're sending your emails, speaking to your children on the phone, doing some business transaction, emptying the bin, having a bath, all of this is still in the flu state. In the same way, as you come to realize the self and recognizes that its vibration has always been here, it has just been overlooked. As soon as that becomes clear for you, you realize that this is not a doing thing, it is simply a happening. Like that, then whatever you do, it will simply be taking place in that newly discovered observation. It's just happening naturally by itself. This is the beauty. Because sometimes people wondered whether the Buddha or Krishna was always being aware of the self, like always being aware of the self, being aware. No, they are the self.
Okay,
you are also the self. Becoming aware that it takes no effort to be the self. This is what is happening. When that becomes totally anchored in you, you're home. Your mind will not trouble you, will not have the ability to trouble you at all.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. You want to say? Yes. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It would appear, from what you're saying, that there comes a stage in which the mind sees its own limitation in the stillness, in the silence, without any naming.
Yes.
Is that, could you just...
Yeah. It is not the mind that sees its limitation. It is the beingness that sees the limitation of the mind. And also recognizes that by identifying with the mind, identifying with itself as being the body and mind, it came in a very restricted zone. And because of that, it felt claustrophobic in its functioning. It lost its spontaneity and started to think life rather than be. That is the beginning of your awakening. And gradually it starts to disassociate from the egoic tendencies that slows it down and make it feel trapped. That is what's happening. It recognizes that the mind, what we call the mind, now it is time to outgrowing the association with a very localized identity, and it's reverting to its original place as that unchanging being. And that is what is experienced as this immense joy, like a joy of reunion or something like that, This is what is happening. I am told now, I'm being reminded that we are coming to the end of this session. I would like to again say, because we have been conducting satsangs in this way for quite some time, and many beings, of course, have come into astonishing recognitions because of it. Like they say, wow, my whole life has changed. Also, the situations within my family have become much, much better. I am not stressed by life. I'm so much more happy before, and amazing testimonies simply because the focus is on this immediacy and this looking and this introspection, which is very direct and immediate and so profound, lasting also. And of course, there are people who experience the same things, but gradually the old habits reassert themselves, and then gradually they move back into the old habits. So I cannot guarantee. All I can say is that in this alive looking and sensing again, the presence of what really is, it's like you somehow the consciousness has risen up into a higher altitude to such that the lower tendencies cannot breathe in such a high altitude, and you are not going to be disturbed by your mind. The way you come to notice that actually is that you experience a sense of a lightness of being within yourself, and that your mind your attention does not gravitate towards negative thinking and so on. Those are the early signs that you come to see that, wait, somehow, this is a direction to keep on exploring within your own, sadhana. So I would like to say that I'm here also by grace of Swami Dayananda. Actually, I feel that his presence permitted this this satsang to take place in his ashram, and also very happy to be sitting with the Swamis and so on, Swaminis, for this time of being here, and for your open-mindedness, as much as we're able to listen to this type of this way of approaching self-inquiry. So I would just like to say thank you very much for your attention that you have given, and for your hospitality towards us. We have also some people have come from the Sangha that was taking place next door. So thank you very much. Thank you, Swamiji, and all for this time here. No? Okay.
So we thank Sri Mooji Babaji for being here and enlightening us with his talks here with his teachings. As I said, we have a routine here. We could have gone for a longer time, but then there is a routine here. There are going to be classes in the afternoon, and these people are all used to 12:30 lunch because they had early breakfast, and that was a constraint, Guruji. So I think you would not. Yeah.
Fine.
As I also said in the beginning, I was not very expressive. It was nothing that was asked. It was all donated by us for the trees, and I had a conversation, and I also had a thought that something needs to be done, and therefore it came out. I also request all of you to participate in that kind of a giving. With this, we conclude the satsang, and we will now be there for lunch. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Love you.